Hey everybody, I'm Madeline Sklar, host of the Social ROI Chat. We had such a great one today. I'm here with our special guest. Please welcome Ben Roberts. Hey Ben.
Hey everybody, I'm Madeline Sklar, host
Ah,
of the
Oh,
Social ROI Chat. We had
I
such a
just
great
realized.
one today.
I
I'm
just
here
realized
with
it
our
started
special
talking in the
guest.
background, so I
Please
can hear.
we're
welcome
ge-
Ben
we're getting the
Roberts. Hey
feedback of me
Ben, hey
talking.
everybody.
Oh, this is just the joys of live stuff. I was like, you know what? I'll put it on the background. It'd be brilliant.
Uh-huh.
No, we can hear. And then it just starts shouting at me, and I couldn't turn it off. It's just typical. Good old live, eh?
There you go. Hey, that's what I love about live streaming video. It's real. It's the real deal. And I love your techie setup. I saw the photo you tweeted out right before the chat, and I loved it. Like you had like three screens, right? You like had all these computers set up.
Yeah. So I've got two different laptops and a TV monitor. I don't use TweetDeck or anything. I find that it doesn't work for how I like things. But I usually multi-screen stuff, and this is just a nice way. I've just sort of got the main one in front of me, and I'm able to sort of pinch bits from other screens. And instead of trying to manage everything on the one screen, definitely a multi-screen sort of guy.
I love it. I think that's great. And for a Twitter chat, it can move at such a rapid pace. So, yeah, I had like three screens as well. Now that I think about it, I had my iMac, a laptop, and my iPhone.
Mm.
So, yeah, yeah. Sometimes these chats, you got to like have multiple screens to really attack it. This
Oh
was
yeah.
such a great chat today. You shared lots of great stuff on social selling. But before we begin, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ben Roberts, and most people on social media it's Ben M Roberts because there are too many Ben Robertses in this world. So I had to put the M in there just to make sure that people could actually find me, which is always good. And my day job is I'm head of marketing at a tech company in the UK called Talkative, and we basically built a live web chat software that allows people to also voice and video call people through websites. And then I host the Marketing Buzzword podcast, a podcast where I bring on different guests to try and break down and dissect marketing buzzwords, which you have been a guest on to help talk about conversational marketing, which was awesome. And we're on 71 episodes now, which is crazy. Yeah. And I also speak more and more at marketing and business conferences. So that's a growing thing that I'm adding to my repertoire, which is always nice.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of things. I mean, I've just been noticing you everywhere. I see you speaking at conferences and all over social media. So we're really thrilled to have you come be a guest today and share with us. So today's topic is all you need to know about social selling. So we're going to go through some of the questions to get your expanded thoughts. That's what I love
Mm.
about doing this after chat. Before it was like going beyond the 140 characters, but now that we have 280 characters, we're still somewhat limited. So it's nice to actually have a conversation here on video. And for those watching, if you have any questions, feel free to comment and we could address it during this live stream. So, Ben, let's start with question number one. What is social selling?
Mm. So I love this question just because it's something that people have a really interesting view on. Now, social selling essentially it's an art and a science in itself. And it's the idea of actually building up relationships to ultimately have an end goal of selling. But because everything, if you're social selling, the idea is you have to sell. That's the end goal. If a business doesn't sell, it doesn't necessarily exist. But it's doing it in a way that actually builds authentic, genuine relationships. So actually, it's more of a medium and long term strategy. It's not one that necessarily goes in and it's not transactional focused. It's based upon the relationships. It's about conversations and knowledge because knowledge will equal the sale in the end. It's about trying to blend actually instead of just breaking into people's conversations and saying buy this, it's actually having a natural conversation around a topic, a subject, the industry, and actually naturally from that conversation your good service or knowledge may be required as a sale in the end, and you've positioned yourself in order to make that sale.
Yeah, that's great. Great breakdown on this. And it seems as social media has been evolving that I think a lot of people are really looking at social selling more closely because there are so many ways to make this work for your business, so many social platforms now. So it's best to have a strategy in place in doing this. So that kind of leads me over to question number 2. Let's talk about what are some of the similarities between social media and social selling.
So you mean selling on social media?
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I was getting confused. What are we talking about? No. Yeah. So difference is selling on social media is more of that short-term transaction, I think. Absolutely nothing necessarily wrong with selling on social media. And that's where sometimes people go, selling on social media is bad. It's not bad, it's just different. It's a different process to social selling. Social selling looks at the relationships, the conversations, and that will potentially end up in a sale in the long run. Now, selling on social media is much more short-termist. It looks at actually, this is the goods or service I have to offer. You potentially could be, maybe not, depending on how good my targeting is. You may want to buy it. Here it is, buy it now or buy it very soon. Now, social selling looks at actually, look, we've got this good or service, but you don't necessarily need to know about it right now. We're going to share with you some value. We're going to show you some ideas, have a conversation with you around where it could potentially be helpful without saying buy this, and you go, oh, that's interesting. Can I have a tool that can help me manage my Twitter followers? And I go, yes, actually, I use a tool called Manage Twitter, which I actually do use as well. And that's how social selling comes about. And that's why, actually, you know what? I actually ended up using it because I was following social ROI chat. Oh, look at that. That was no, generally, that's social selling.
That's very meta. That's so meta.
Exactly, but that was literally social selling in action. I used to use a different tool, which I called Tweepy, and I didn't get on with it, and it was something that I'd used before, and had sort of looked around. I knew of the subject. I looked at who was talking about it, and that's how I stumbled across social ROI and Manage Twitter, and I now use that tool not because Manage Twitter were like, buy this, you're on Twitter, go and buy a social media management tool, but that's there. And obviously there are so many other ways. I just thought that was actually probably a really nice way of actually blending into what this is now, actually seeing as we're on the Facebook page, and it just happens to be a nice example of where social selling works and how it's different to selling on social.
Yeah, great points there. So, okay, those are similarities. Now, what about the differences with this? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the differences are, selling on social media is more direct. It has a much more tangible outcome, i.e. you put in X time, X money. So you put in £500 on a Facebook ad. You will get X number of leads or sales at. So you'd be measuring your cost per lead, your cost per acquisition, your cost per sale. Whereas on social selling, you wouldn't necessarily measure all of those things. You'd be measuring other statistics and other metrics, which you should be, but it's not necessarily those direct stuff. It's more about actually how much engagement am I getting, how many sort of detailed conversations, how many replies am I getting shares in a relevant audience, in a relevant way. Now, those are the sort of ways that it's really different. One is very direct, one is sort of a bit more loose, but they have to have the same end goal. So just two completely different processes, but they have to be focused somewhat on what do you actually want to achieve. So one of the things I talked about in there, which I'll just bring up now, is that where's it gone? Where's my little note from earlier? Oh yeah, and it's just basically about those. So I've got so many screens up in front of me now, I can't even find where all my stuff was earlier. But it is about just generally about those relationships and how long it takes to build up something. That is the difference. Transactional is meant to be short, sharp, to the point, whereas social selling isn't necessarily that. It can be that, but it shouldn't be directly like that, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then question number 4, social selling is about relationship building. So we know that. With this in mind, is it possible to predict when your efforts will convert into sales, and kind of give us a why or why not on that?
Yeah. So it is much more difficult to predict whether your efforts are going to be, because again, like what we just sort of just covered a little bit earlier, is you put in X number of things, you can sort of get a predictive metric on this is how many people I'm going to reach. This is how many, what my audience size is going to be, is how many people I'm aiming to get to, and this is what the sort of conversations they're having. Now with social selling, so for example, my one of my colleagues in my marketing team at Talkative, she posted a boomerang for her birthday, and this thing has got like 17, like it was like, I don't know, it's got some ridiculous amounts of likes, shares, and she had like almost like 400 people add her on LinkedIn as a result. I think it's even more than that. It's like 17,000 likes. Now that hasn't necessarily added value, but suddenly what that has done is that's brought more eyeballs onto our pages, and actually all of our other content has now benefited as a result. Now that's not selling on social media, but now it's given us an avenue to be able to do some social selling, because now people are finding out about our other stuff and they go, oh, actually I'm looking for experts in live web chats. Oh, potentially Talkative are a company for that. So it's looking at actually one being, yes, I'm trying to think of the way to reply this. It is measurable in a sense that you can see returns, but you can't measure directly that this, like a pounds per acquisition sort of measurement. But there are things like I mentioned in the chat about LinkedIn Social Selling Index, so the SSI. Have you looked at that yourself, Madeline?
No, I wanted to ask you, where do we get that? I didn't see a link to that, so I wasn't really sure where to get it. So I imagine I got to be in my LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, I literally just Google LinkedIn SSI, LinkedIn Social Selling Index. So it's off one of their pages. I will share a link onto the thing without trying to obviously get it shouting at me through the TV again. I'll share a link to that. But yeah, basically it's their way of measuring social selling, and they use 4 different pillars on there. Off the top of my head, it's sort of like the quality of your network, the quality of your conversations, your profile, and something else off the top of my head. And it brings all those in together to look at actually how good is your network, what is the quality of your network, what are the sort of conversations you're having, are you having relevant and high quality conversations, and it gives you a rank based upon that. So you can understand actually, is my network engaged in what I'm doing? Are they interested in what I'm in saying on social media? So you can sort of judge actually how are you doing compared to other people in your industry. And it just gives you a vague idea. It's not the be all and end all, but it gives you a good idea of actually, are you in the right ballpark?
Okay, I just found the link and I just posted it here for everybody. If you want to check it out, there it is. It's through LinkedIn. I just did like what you said. I just went and Googled it real quick and found the link. So mine is saying, and I hope this isn't bad, mine says 74. So I'm a 74. And it says I'm top 1% industry SSI rank and top 6% for network SSI rank.
Nice. That's really good.
So is that good? That's good.
I think so. I'm on 79 out of 100. So the 4 pillars are establishing your personal brand, finding the right people, engaging with insights, and building relationships. So the relationships is about the conversations you're having. The personal brand is about how relevant what you're talking about, so people can find out about you. The right people is in the type of people you have in your network. So have you got quite a focused network? Have you got a broad network of just so many different people that actually they're not going to necessarily be relevant to your industry and the topics you're talking about? That's what that bit looks at. And engaging with insights, is it, are you looking at actually how your posts and are performing, so you can actually post more relevant and interesting content for your audience? So it's a really nice way of giving a ballpark there to sort of see what you're doing and actually how you measure up against different people in your network and your industry.
That's great. And Paul says his is 77. So that's good.
Nice. Love that. Yes.
That's some nice scores y'all have. So that's great. Well, this is good to know. I'm so glad that you shared that with us, because I'd heard about this SSI score, but I didn't know where to go and find the link. So that's good to know. So question number 5, what does great content look like from a social selling perspective?
Yeah. So it's all about helpful content. In helpful content, what that means is actually it doesn't have to be helpful for everyone. It has to be helpful for specific someone. Now again, we think focusing on the quality, not the quantity. So it has to be highly relevant, highly interesting and engaging, and ultimately helpful for a small number of people. This is so people can actually find out how to do something. So if they had come from a base of no knowledge, how can we provide them with some knowledge that they can either find out more for themselves or actually do it themselves? You provide that knowledge, and ultimately it then comes back to you as you're seen as the authority, and ultimately when they need to take it to another level, you're the person that they come to. Whatever content you produce, it has to think, what are the term I use is, what is it going to do for them? And I shared a really helpful, the acronym for it is a WIIG, whatever it is, really unhelpful. But but it is that thing, you've just got to ask yourself, what is it going to do for them? If I share this bit of content to my audience, what am I going to get from them? Is it going to, it doesn't necessarily have to be about that end sale every post. So it could be about, okay, someone gets to know something about me a bit more. It might be the fact that someone actually gets to see a side of me that they wouldn't normally see. It could be highly relevant to live web chat for what I do at Talkative, but it may not be. And it's trying to find actually that blend what your audience want, but it's got to be helpful, insightful, and relevant to your audience. So if you want them to find out more about you, so you can build up that authenticity, which is why we do things like the social ROI, where we do these live videos, so people can actually find out a bit more about us, our personality, the way we talk, the way we walk, and actually put faces to things. That's an incredible thing for us to do now, which wasn't really available 5-10 years ago. So it's those little things, is just being really helpful and relevant in the moment, and that's what's going to really sort of stand your content out and help you social sell better overall.
I love that. That's why I like doing these after chats. I love how we go from a Twitter chat for an hour, which feels a lot like texting because we don't see each other, but we're all having a conversation and we're typing very fast and it's a lot of fun. But then we come over here, we relax a little bit and just have a conversation on video. And so I think this is a great way for people to see a brand as real and transparent, just like at the beginning when it was echoing my voice. And it's like, that this is live video. Welcome to live video. But it makes it real and people relate to that. It's very relatable.
I say ultimately we'd love to not have it echoing back, but actually it shows that, look, this is really in the moment, and that's why people still tune into live TV, because yes, you may argue that sometimes the quality, people mess up lines, people do that, but they actually love that rawness and actually seeing that it's real people, and that's people do business with people, and people want to do business with people. If people didn't want that, we would already, because we've already got the capability of robots selling to robots, I'm sure. So that's what we'd be doing if people weren't necessary.
That's so true. Next question. I love this one. How can marketers use relationship building to convert their online communities into paying customers? Because ultimately, that's what we're looking for in business. We want paying customers. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, almost like a seamless link into what I just said. It's that personalization. Now, people will always pay for a more personalized, more in-depth service and they'll pay for your time. They'll pay for you. Your knowledge is up here. Yes, you can share loads of it. You can write blogs, you can do podcast videos. But actually, when you have a sit-down conversation with someone, because all the content and information you're sharing is going to be relevant. Now, you can try and target it as much as possible. Really, you're not going to write a blog post for just one person and one person's business. Now, actually, when you have that sit-down conversation, you can target all these little bits, all these little nuances, all these little niches, and actually focus it on that one person, or that one business. That is where the real value is. Your knowledge is up here, but actually how you categorize that, how you put that into context for them. Context is really, I think context is king in terms of this sense, because without context, everyone can share knowledge, everyone can share ideas, but not everyone can put it in the context of that your specific business for your specific need. And that is where when the big differences will come. And also you've got things like the customer experience, you can add all that in. But in terms of social selling, the personalization really is what differentiates you, because that customer experience comes later. Once people do business with you, that's how you maintain that business over time. But in order to actually sell for the first time, you have to be able to offer a level of personalization that not everyone else can offer, or be able to translate your content to make sure that it actually really makes sense for that individual and their business.
Right. This is so great, Ben. I really appreciate you taking time today. I know it's late over there
Oh, God, no problem.
where you're at in Europe, and this has been just excellent information you've shared with us. What are the best ways for people to learn more about you and to reach out to you? Where should we send them?
Oh, no, thank you so much, Amrion. I absolutely loved it. Best place to find me is on Twitter, so at Roberts_Ben_M. On LinkedIn quite a lot as well. Twitter and LinkedIn are sort of my home bases. Find me on Instagram or Facebook again, Ben M. Roberts, on pretty much any social media channel. And if you want to find out more about Talkative, it's talkative.uk. Again, all my links are all in the bios, but Ben M. Roberts. If you Google me, I actually come up with Ben M. Roberts, but you could try and find Ben Roberts, flipping heck, that's a different kettle of fish, and that's why we have to differentiate ourselves somewhere and find our own little niches, don't we?
That's right. That's right. This has been so great, Ben. Thank you so much. And, I think a lot of us today learned a lot of new things. So really appreciate that.
Oh, the pleasure is absolutely all mine, Madeline. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for tuning in. And Paul, who is here in the chat, is our guest next week. So I was really thrilled that he was here. Teresa was on the chat. She's our guest the following week. I love when our guests actually come on and hang out in the chat. It's wonderful. And Ben, that means that you're welcome anytime to come hang out in the Twitter chat with us. I always try to make sure our guests know they're always welcome to come contribute to the conversation. So feel free anytime to visit.
Oh, definitely. And now that Paul's bigged up the valleys as well, we love the Welsh valleys. It's so I'm gonna have to come and support our northerner. So I'll definitely be back, and I'm gonna have a lot of love to Paul as well for touching my Welsh heart there by talking about the Welsh valleys. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back next week with another awesome chat. So until then, see you out on social media and especially Twitter. All right. Bye, everybody.